think is the greatest event ever?
Marriage.
So, that's a good one. Thanks for that. So, I went around, I asked a couple of friends. So, this particular friend of mine who's into geology, he said continental drift and how the oceans move and continents and mountains are formed. I was like, okay, I can't beat you on scale, but let's put it to man made events only. So, then I went around a bit more. So, someone told me Olympics. It's a fair answer. It's like the event where you have the fittest and the most tremendously trained athletes from all over the world, fighting it out in a very fair and even competition, and to find out who the best person is. But no, I think I have something better. Then someone told me about the music festivals, Tomorrowland, Sunburn, and even this awesome Pink Floyd event which was back in the day called Pulse. I wish I could go with that, but no, there's something even bigger. And then you have these modern fests which originate from the hippie days, like the Burning Man or the South by Southwest, or so many other events. Some might even say the Academy Awards. They're a pretty big event in themselves. But I humbly disagree. In my opinion, the greatest man-made event on earth is the 2014 Indian general elections. Some of you might be going, okay, where did that come from? It's not glamorous, it's not spectacular, there's no fireworks and shows. But bear with me, the sheer size and scale of this election, this boggles the mind. So India is a country with a population of 1.2 billion people, and this year the general elections has an electorate of I think 814.5 million people. So we have all these people spread over this entire huge country, all voting together at the same time to select 543 members into the Lok Sabha or the lower house of the parliament. That is roughly the equivalent of the House of Representatives in the United States or the House of Commons in the UK.
Ooh.
So, I mean, I find it very tough to imagine the scale, the logistics, the way you organize this event in a secure and fair environment to make sure that all of this happens. It so happens I'll recite some stats maybe, and then perhaps you can get an idea of your own. So this will be taking place from 8th of April, so just started, until the 12th of May. So that's a month and change, and this will be taking place in 5 phases. And so they'll be setting up, I think, about 919,000 polling booths all over the country.
Wow.
So to do that, they'll have to send personnel. So there are 10 million personnel involved in all of this, including people who organize, people who provide security, people who make sure that everything is set up and in place. So 10 million people who will be moving around the country. They'll be moving around on planes, trains, cars, even camels and elephants in inhospitable terrain. So there is one polling booth in Gujarat in a very desolate village where they're setting up a polling booth for just one person. So they do that. And the expenses, they're mind-boggling. If you take into account the cost of all the process and the election campaigning, it's estimated to be over 5 billion US dollars. That's like the second highest, just below the US. And US, okay, it's messy, the campaign contributions, and also better not talk about that. But just the sheer size and scale of this election, the number of people voting, it's more than the next 3 combined. So more than the US, the UK, the EU, all of these combined, this is bigger than those. So speaking of elections, like how did we get here? The technical definition of an election is a formal decision-making process whereby a population selects or chooses an individual into a public office. So how did we even get here? Humans, like as part of the evolution, at one point of time were hunter-gatherers. Then they formed small communities, almost like herds and animals. Then they had chiefs. Then the communities got bigger. The chiefs became rulers. You had kings, you had kingdoms, you had emperors, you had whole empires. And have you ever heard of an emperor who wanted to do anything other than live a life of luxury and to propagate his own bloodline? I mean, we hear of these benevolent rulers all the time, but the only stories we get to hear is, okay, he spent some gold coins randomly or made a random temple or a church or a mosque or whatever. But that's about the extent of it. So people finally, at some point, I guess, got tired of these rulers, got tired of every random other person who took it upon themselves to attack and plunder and loot and take upon their region. and they decided, let's form a government, let's have elections. And over the course of centuries, this process has been refined, very well thought about and considered, and through electoral reforms, we are where we are today. In India, it's especially true because we're pretty good at making laws and then pushing in amendment after amendment and refining the process. Some cases it does work, which is, I think, an example here, the Indian election. So we have the Election Commission, which for this particular period of time is probably the most powerful body in India, because it's their responsibility to ensure a free and fair election, and they have the power at this point in time to oppose or revoke any changes made by the government if they feel that that is likely to influence the electorate. And they also impose a moral code of conduct, whereby they can penalize any political party if they violate the code and try to influence voters in other ways as not acceptable by law. So this process that exists today is a very robust process, and in my opinion the greatest event, the grandest event, even though it's not glamorous or spectacular in your traditional sense of the word. And the message I want all of you to get from this, to take from this, if you will, is when you have a chance, when you have a choice to choose who is in power, to consciously, cast your vote, make use of your universal adult suffrage like we have in India or wherever in any other country. I'm sure every country has their own process and is just and fair in their own way. If you have that opportunity, make use of it, because at the end of the day, this is something which is responsible for your freedom, for your security, for your personal well-being and prosperity, for your health, at the end of the day, it plays a big role in a lot of your big life decisions, and it can make you happy or ensure the happiness of your friends and family. So you probably did not have a chance to choose where you were born, but if you have a say, I say go ahead and say it.